this before, but let's just kind of zap. Okay. Yes, this is the heart of Japanese fermentation. Japanese fermentation is the koji fermentation. Koji is inoculated rice with koji spores. Now on the left is, I make this, and then up close is each grain of rice with all these things. So the koji is a mold, and you call that little flower-looking thing koji flora. Okay, and then, yeah, nowadays I call myself a food activist, and 2 years doing COVID, I taught cooking over Zoom, and I thought that was so boring because Japanese cooking, you can't just follow recipes. Actually, there's no recipes. And then, so eventually, first I was so enthusiastic, and I wrote all these recipes, and then eventually people asked me, "Oh, Naoki Sensei, how much miso do I put?" And I go, "Oh, well, you know, your miso and my miso is different. So you just have to kind of taste it and figure out." But that doesn't really work for young people nowadays. And we're so westernized. And then I started to meet all these, like the koji lady and other lady over internet, which is pretty cool. And so I got into this study called the food studies. Food studies began in long ago in Italy, but California, around Bay Area, Berkeley, around there is the place, like a mecca, when people started to connect, the hippie, it's one of the hippie movements too. And so this lady called Alice Waters, she has a restaurant in Berkeley. She even went to the White House to help Michelle Obama plant all these herb gardens, and so it's like, farm to table. To do that, she kind of went to each schools, making little gardens and make sure kids knew where the food was coming. And, I think that's really important. And then, of course, that brought me back to Hawaii, saying that, oh yeah, all these things, like after I started teaching fermentation, oh yeah, Hawaii has all these original things. And then I started to look into, and then found out that the Gannemono, the first immigrants came to Hawaii, they brought their bag of rice, miso and shoyu. And then that's been, around, and then I would go, okay, I'm from Niigata, but where did they come from? A lot of Japanese people came from Chugoku, or the southern part of Japan, which means their miso is sweeter than my miso. So when I first came to Hawaii when I was like 7 or 8, my grandfather has been in the States for so long that when he made miso soup, it was like, it wasn't even miso for me, it was like so thick and sweet. And I go, oh, what is this? But that's the miso from the Kyushu area. They had really sweet. So this is not sugar sweet, meaning lots of koji, less sugar. So the way that you prepare miso, so when you ask each family, oh, what kind of miso do you use? This is in Japan. You can tell that the origin of that family must be from here or here or here. So and that still carries on, which is pretty interesting. And so I began to get into these food studies, and then part of the food studies, there's going to be a symposium in Rome next May, and this year's theme is fermentation. And oh, okay. And then my teacher that I'm with, she said, oh yeah, you should talk about immigrants in Hawaii and their fermented food and stuff. So I created this questionnaire, and then even you're not Japanese descendant, if you live Hawaii, it's like the local people are very much connected to Japanese things. So please answer the questionnaire. Okay, so the story of food, yeah. It's about, stories of family around the table, around the world. This is really like, especially if you live in Hawaii, it's just, people from all over the place, and each family, you are all Americans. I'm American now, but, it's just so different cultures, and like I have many friends here and there, but when I talk about food, it's just endless. And of course, makes your stomach full, and, that's the most happy time. But everywhere you are, the food is um, the thing that we need to live, and which consists of protein, carbohydrates, and fat. That's about it. And then so long ago, people started to figure out what's around you and began experimenting, learning by experience. Okay? And so, so this is Japan. So Japan is very small, but it runs from north to south with, in the center of this Honshu Island, there's a mountainous area. And so it's humid, warm, and the water is very soft. Soft water means, soft water is usually, they do not contain that much minerals, but it's really good on your skin. So like, when you actually be really, really precise, if we make miso or some other things, and to use salt and to do fermentation, we usually recommend, if you live in a soft water area, use sea salt. If you live in an area with hard water that has already lots of minerals, you can use those rock salt, like Himalayan salt. And the outcome is, different. In Japan, the water is soft. It's kind of moderate. It is cold, but it's moderate compared to other European countries, right? Okay, so we have 4 distinctive seasons. And then fermented food because of the humidity and warmth. And we have all these different foods growing. And it's water rich. Like Japanese food, we say we cook with water because there's so much water. And even growing rice, you need water at a certain time, and then later you need to drain the water. So where there is rice, it's usually the land is wet and warm and humid. Where there is wheat country, it's usually dry and cold. So you can tell that the Asian countries are the rice country. Okay. So koji, talking about koji, how old is koji? So this is a story about this princess. It's called Blossom Princess that appeared in the Japanese mythology, Kojiki, which was put together in 712 BC. And so this princess actually got married and she gave birth to triplets. But she only had 2 breasts to feed. So in that mythology, it is said that the princess gave her 3rd child amazake. Okay. Amazake is fermented koji and water incubated for a couple hours. And then the rice starch part of the rice, the koji eats the rice and make it sweet. And in other words, it is also called drinking ivy fluid. And then there's another story about this 8-headed dragon that was doing all these bad things. And what they did was they gave them sake, made them drunk, and that's how they killed him. So amazake, like I said, rice and water, right? So that's fermentation first. Well, no. First step, fermentation, making koji. You make koji with inoculated rice with koji spores. Second fermentation, you add water to that, you make amazake. Third fermentation, you add yeast to amazake, it makes sake. That's why it's called amazake. It's not even sake, but it's the one step earlier process before making sake is amazake. Make sake, you need 3 fermentation. First you have to make koji, second you have to make amazake, and then you put yeast, you put that in, and then let it ferment, and then you strain it. So what is koji? Koji is a mold, and it's called Aspergillus oryzae. And it grows on cooked rice or any kind of grains. So you can also make koji with barley, any kind of other grains. And that's why if you make barley miso, you inoculate the koji spores onto barley. And then it's been used in Japan for over 2,000 years. And in 2006, it was registered as a national mold of Japan. And then also it is recognized, approved by US FDA to be safe. I'm saying this because this mold, people say mold, it's kind of usually bad, yes. This Aspergillus family, so the cousin of this Oryzae, koji, cousins of koji, there's so many toxic mold as well. But in the long process, Japanese people taught themselves how to just keep the safe strain and grow only that part. There's a specialty people that makes only koji spores. We call it tane koji. It's the seed of koji. Because this process is not so easy, there is a special people who's been making in that family for over 300, 400 years, making koji spores for everybody. Even the koji makers, even the sake makers, they have to buy this koji spores from a special store. So, of course, for example, you have steamed rice. I'm sure you did this once or twice, okay? You cook rice, you forgot about it, you kept it in the rice cooker, not a warm setting. You leave it out, what happens? It becomes wet and soft. And then what? Molds, right? And then so there's all these red mold, black mold, white mold. So in the white mold, there is koji mold. But usually black ones are not so good, but the green ones are, no, the red ones are really bad, so don't try to eat that. But so you can actually, so there are some people actually try making wild koji. They gather the white part and they try that again and again. But then, yeah, you can try it, but if you eat it, sometimes you can just die from it. Oh yeah, you see this rice?
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, this is an ancient koji mold. It was found on rice plant. Okay, like natto too. Natto you can find it on grass. You can make natto. You just kind of cook the soybean. And like here in Hawaii, you have all these ferns, right? Like my place, I have lots of ferns. You get the fern leaves, you kind of wash them, and then you put the soybean, you put the fern, the bottom and the top, and then you incubate for about, I don't know, what is it, 24, 25 hours. You get natto.
Really?
Yeah. But now you can buy natto mold spores online. Yeah, natto is very easy to make, very easy. But I don't make them anymore because natto is very strong in terms of fungus. So there is like a seniority. Natto is strong. So when I used to make a lot of natto, everything turned into natto. I'm trying to make tempeh, I try to make koji, and then you start smelling, this natto smell. So the molds fight. So even you go to sake brewers in Japan, they are not allowed to eat natto before coming to work because it's airbound. Yeah, it's in the nature. So this is one type of koji spores. It's in the nature. And then eventually there's another koji spore came from China. So actually koji has two big strains. One came from China, the other in the nature in Japan, in other Asian countries. So yeah, the question, this is a new slide I've added after my first session. People will say, oh, can you buy koji? Yeah, this is what you probably see this top cold mountain koji in Nijiya, Don Quixote. Oh yeah, KDA, Hilo. Yeah, that's the most common one you can buy. And that one is about $10. Okay. And then next one is, okay, can you make your own koji? Wait. Can you make, yes, yeah, you can. Okay? Yes. So this is the part I put yes, but. Can you make your own koji? Yes, but. You can buy koji spores and you can make your own koji, but it's hard, right? It takes about 3 or 4 days. So koji is like like us. It's a living thing. Okay? And so from koji you can make miso, you make that. And then koji makes shoyu. Now shoyu is a little bit difficult because there's more, you have to inoculate beans instead of rice. So it's kind of different process. It's pretty hard to make. And then mirin, that, right? Easy, sake. So after you make amazake, you can make sake. And then rice vinegar. So all this is made from koji. Like this is a typical authentic Japanese daily meal. So let's see what I use for these meal. So in this rice, when I steamed it, I kind of splashed some sake, to make it more flavorful. Sake brings out, koji brings out the original flavor. Okay? So eat that. And then shoyu and mirin for this soup. Right? Mirin adds little sweetness. And then also it just brings out the flavor of the original vegetables. And then this is sweet miso. I put miso, mirin, and sake. And you see how the miso is really glossy. So it's better to put a little bit of mirin when you make these types of sauces. It becomes really glossy. So, and then this is spaghetti squash, I think. It's like your namasu. So instead of putting sugar in your namasu, you use mirin. Okay? Vinegar, mirin. And now I've used shiokoji, is another type of seasoning that I make with koji. So probably the next session will be making amazake and shiokoji. And this is also shiokoji. You've had shiokoji before because in the last couple sessions I did serve some pickles made with shiokoji. Okay. And then I've showed you this before. So Japanese shi, su, se, so Japanese alphabet. Now this is the order of flavor you should put into your cooking. Okay. Sato, sugar, right? Sake, mirin, su, vinegar. Se, shoyu, so, miso. And then of course shi is shio. But the first one, sato. So every time when you cook something, make sure you put the sweetener at the very first before you put any kind of salty seasoning in it. Then, it adds sugary sweetness. You cannot make your food sweet after you put the shoyu in. Shoyu just goes right into it, miso goes right into it, and sugar will never go into it. But if you put the sugar very first, then the flavor is already in there, so you don't really have to put too much other stuff. Okay? Just makes it easier to cook and tastier. But long ago, sato is very new to us. Okay? Long ago, we didn't have sugar, so sugar was very, very, important, but sugar was something special. And so they didn't have sugar, what they had was sake and mirin. So this sa does not, when you look like on internet, this comes up saying that this is a Japanese way to cook, these are Japanese seasoning. And they usually sa stands for sato, but actually sa stands for sake and mirin. These koji products have lots of enzymes, but these are the three major enzymes that we can find. First one is called amylase, and this is like in amazake or any kind of like meat too. It eats the starch, carbs, and then it makes it sweet. Okay, sweetness. And then this protease likes the protein to break down protein, and then it breaks down protein to amino acid. And then this is what brings the umami, or it tenderizes food. So today's miso, you can taste the umami. You don't have to put dashi for umami. Okay? In natural food, we have already umami, vegetable umami. So today's miso, you will enjoy the umami from fermented soy. Okay? Another thing is lipase. It breaks down fat. I like this, really, it really does. And then, so it breaks down fat, all these molecules, big fat molecules. So I have the koji powder that I gave you. a couple of times I went to eat ramen, and you see, the big bowl of ramen, there's like those big puddles of oil, right, fat. So you sprinkle that, and then when you watch, it breaks down all these big puddles of oil. It just breaks down and make all these little, it turns into all these little things. And so that's why what enzymes do is they pre-digest the food for us. Before we eat, they work themselves. So it's really easy to understand. If you buy these, let's see, cheap steak like chuck or hard, you rub in like shiokoji or this koji powder, and you let it sit for even overnight. It just makes it really tender because it gets into the protein and it breaks it down. And it's really good, works really good with seafood too. Usually, if you cook seafood, sometimes when it's really fishy, that's the smell of the protein. So if you are going to keep it in the refrigerator for long, you rub the koji in, and then you wrap it, and that's it. You get all these really fishy smell out. And it's really, especially if you add koji and some salt, you don't have to add any other spices. So these are really, so people, there's thing called raw food, right? People eat raw food. Why do they eat raw? So raw food, they have the natural enzyme in it, right? So like I said, koji will die after you keep on cooking it for 126 degrees and over. So any kind of raw food, like vegetables, you lose their enzyme if they cook it. That's why the raw food people say, don't cook it, eat raw. So it's the same thing. If you eat koji, it's the same effect that you're going to have. Okay? So raw food, when you eat raw vegetables digest themselves before our body uses own enzyme to digest. We have like digestive enzymes, but digestive enzymes are limited. It is said that our body kind of slow down making enzymes after age 20. So all of us, we're using what we have. So don't waste it. So you have to let, koji, or you have to let the raw vegetables work so that we don't need to use our own enzyme. But the processed food that we eat, now we have to work hard. Our body, the enzymes in our body really have to work hard to digest that. That's why processed food, we call it the empty calorie. And our body gets really tired. We have to save our own enzyme, after a certain age. And those people that live long, they said that their enzymes are, of course it's kind of hereditary too, so depending on your family, the amount of enzymes that we're born with it is different. But we have to, you can't really eat them like from supplements. You just have to try to not waste what we have. Generally, eating a lot of fermented food really helps, especially if your body, has some kind of inflammation problem. Okay, so this is amazake. Amazake is koji plus cooked grains and water, incubated for 5 to 6 hours. And then amylase brings out the sweetness. And it likes kind of high heat. This enzyme likes high heat. Now high heat means 131 to 140, not higher than that. If it's higher than that, they're going to start dying. And they like cooked grains. Now, not raw rice. They need some moisture. So the grains need to be cooked. So you can make amazake with oatmeal. I do use sprouted quick oats because sprouted is easy on your stomach and quick oats is just so easy. You just kind of pour hot water. And then I put koji and I make amazake with oatmeal. So oatmeal is more fibrous, more nutritional than rice. So I do high heat And I think I've said that you don't need to put this cooked grain. You can just put water and rice koji. But yes, you can just use rice koji and water, but it's always good to give them some food. Okay? Then it becomes sweeter. Okay? Even if you have some leftover cooked rice, you can just put that in if you want to. This one is shio koji. Now there's koji, salt, and water. And then this one likes low heat. That's why we keep it out in the room temperature. Okay, now let's talk about benefits. Okay, so koji, yes, number one, great source of probiotic and prebiotic. Now, I have it with slash because koji itself has lots of it's prebiotic, but when it's made into miso, it becomes probiotic. So either way, it really works. Okay? And then it helps your body to enhance nutrients. And there's vitamin B1, B12, B6. And then this one is really, really obvious. Improves digestion. That's why it's called like a gut cleaner. Okay? And then strengthens immune system. So a lot of the illnesses that we have these days has something to do with our immune system. And this is the easiest way we can try to become healthy, instead of taking all the supplements, right? And then promotes good gut health. Okay. Improves skin condition. Yes, especially if you're in the sun, in a hot place like this, koji really helps. And even in Japan, like I live in dry places, it's really obvious. I drink a lot of koji drink, and then I can feel that my skin is not as dry. It's just, there's a limit if you start putting stuff on it. It has to come from inside. You have to eat something that's good for you, right? And then, yes, this one, fatigue recovery, anti-aging, cell regeneration, and scald drinking IV fluid. Prevents obesity and diabetes. Now, but if you drink too much, glucose is sweet, so it's not really good for you. The reason why they say it prevents obesity and diabetes is that it's just the whole body, from your gut, it starts to, become active, and so it promotes you from not overeating, and then prevents cancer. This is a famous story in Nagasaki when they had those bombs. I just read recently, this doctor who was at about 1.5 kilo from the main source. He had a hospital and they had a miso storage, but the miso storage was safe. It was not bombed. So he and his staff just constantly drank miso soup because they didn't have any other stuff to eat. And what happened was that none of the staff, including himself, did not come with radiation. The only reason he can think of is the miso that they've been eating. Okay? So that's why when they had the Fukushima disaster, I was involved in that too, but we did gather little kids, say, yeah, let's make your own miso. And also, recently I read about it really helps for breast cancers and for men, the stomach cancer. Okay? Now in the future, not even the future anymore, these enzymes from koji are more into the culinary world in European countries, and it just shortens the process of curing meat. Now koji enzymes are used in these biodegradable bags as well, because they break down things. Yeah, or like these packaging film bags and soaps, detergent. It's been around for a long time, so it's pretty quite safe. Okay, it just releases digestive enzymes and unlocks the flavor notes. Now this, you'll be experiencing that. And then these are the basic Japanese seasoning. And promotes good gut health. And it's, national mold. So I'm pretty proud of this. And then now powder koji, now that's something And these are some of the groups that's the one I made. We made two different types of miso. So this one is called shiro miso. Okay, it has a little bit more koji compared to the other one, and it's more. You can eat it young. So miso I have back home, miso that is 18 years old. Now it's very dark. Okay.
So it will darken in time.
Yeah, it's called Maillard reaction. You know, anything like even you cook your meat, it becomes brown, right? That's the same reaction. Now this one is the miso that we packed for you to take home. But do you see the liquid that's here? So that's what tamari. That's how actually shoyu is made. That part. So don't waste it. You know, when you buy real good peanut butter, the real one, the oil is on top. And I used to dump that. And my friend would say, what are you doing? I said, yeah, but there's oil. You have to mix it. That's the good part. No wonder because my peanut butter is suddenly butter on the pot. So this too, okay, this is the good umami part. So don't, yeah. Okay, so this is the meeting that we prepared. Okay, we're going to divide you into groups. The table, and then you can pour the meeting in the pan. And dodo. Okay? Yeah, all of that. I get this thing on the PowerPoint to show you how things are going to change, but so this meeting is kind of murky, but it still works. What we're trying to do is we're going to do a meeting reduction, and I have this on PowerPoint to show you how it changes over time. The safest way is to, when it starts to boil, okay, and when the half of the pot is covered with little bubbles, turn it down to low or medium low, and then time it to cook it to about 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes. If you do that, the alcohol will be gone completely. Now, if you then, it's going to reduce up to 60%. Okay, and then if you cook it for, I did this experiment, if you cook it for 8 minutes, it's going to look like honey. So if you want to use this to pour over your whatever, your dessert or something, you cook it down until like 7 or 8 minutes, and then it becomes darker and becomes thicker. And if you continue doing that, it's going to burn. Okay? That's why koji products are pretty easy to burn because it has a sugar content. Okay? Okay, so now you can turn on the heat. Okay? First boil and then simmer. Okay, so can you keep an eye on the pot because once it starts to bubble, sometimes it might overflow. Okay, so some people can keep an eye on the pot, and others you can start peeling the sweet potato and apple that we're going to use today. Okay, next process. Okay, so you have a pot of water. Please peel the potato and soak it. Cut it up and soak it. Cut it up into maybe 2 inches rounds and soak it for a while. 2 inches. You know, if you cut it too thin, we're going to mash this, but it doesn't really taste good if you slice it thin to cook.
Yeah, it falls apart.
Yeah.
2 inch.
Just cut it to chunk.
We all have our favorite.
Then they have to soak it a little bit to get all the starch out. Yes.
Okay, can you please peel the apple too? We'll cook the apple with the potato. Okay? So apple gives a little bit of tanginess plus a little bit of sweetness. Okay, to get the yellowness, we're going to add this thing called Cucina Shinobi, which is gardenia pods. Okay, this gives the yellow color, like turmeric kind of color. It's called gardenia pods. has a distinctive flavor.
Yeah.
And you kind of crack the pod. This is called gardenia pod. You kind of smash it.
Smash it.
Okay?
Smash it.
Crack the pod and put this into the water with the.
Just hit it with a knife.
This is gardenia pod.
Oh, gardenia.
Yeah, we use it for the yellow color. Don't have to crack it really, really fine. Just kind of crush it. You have to push with your hand.
Yeah, just smash it.
Or use the, yeah.
Oh, it's big.
Hey, that's good. That's good. And just pour it off. So wash the potato once and come back and put it on heat. Okay, turn on the heat, and then after maybe about, when the potatoes are a little bit soft, then throw the apples in. But the gardenia pods need to go in right away. Okay, miso. So miso you can make from koji soybean salt. But here I have it barley miso and chickpea miso. Okay? And then this is my miso container in my refrigerator. I partitioned them with hombu. And I got like 4 different ones in it because I'm so lazy, I don't want to open each one to put. So I just mix different miso in, I just put it in one container. This way you can kind of blend your miso. Miso is always good to blend when you use for cooking. Okay? And here's your local miso, right? Look what I got from the thrift store. So this is miso map. So if you come from the northern part, it's like soy miso, this kind, but it's saltier. And so I come from Niigata with the little islandies around there. We have kind of mixture, so we have the real mild, basic miso. The colder places have saltier miso. But when you go to Kyushu in the southwest, they have barley miso, which is very sweet, bean miso, which is kind of rich, more like tastes like more Chinese type of dark miso. So depending on what region you're from, these are the different miso that you find. But preferably, easy to eat miso is with the green, like the Kanto area, Tokyo area, or Niigata area, where there's a mixture of miso. And when I make it, I can mix all these ingredients as well. Now look at the colors of the miso, different miso from different regions. So it varies in colors as well. So Hokkaido, right here is dark, but Hokkaido consists of all these people from different regions, so I don't know what the really original one is, but you can tell that all these areas here are dark, like Sendai miso, Aizu, Fukushima, Shinshu is Nagano, Edo means Tokyo, around here. And then if you come to like Kyushu, there is more, or Hiroshima here. Hiroshima, you see how light the miso is. So shiro miso, usually they peel the skin of the soy, so the part that gets dark is the outside layer of the soybean. And some places cherish that, and some places don't like that brown part. So it's just all about your preference from what area you're originally from. But there's so many different types of miso. Okay, so this is the basic miso recipe. Okay, for the very, very basic. For about 2 kilos, for about 4 pounds of miso. This is what I used last time for that brown one. Dried white soybean. About, you don't really have to be precise. Okay. I had to calculate this to pounds. That's why you have all these little numbers, but don't have to be so precise. You can just go for like pound, okay? Pound of dry white miso, pound of koji. All you have to remember to get these mild, normal miso, koji and soybean is 1 to 1. And salt, this is 0.4 pounds, but you can go up to like half a pound. So it's 1 times 0.5. Okay. Now, if you lick this, as miso, it's salty, but you don't really lick miso like as it is, okay? And if you have sweeter miso, sometimes it doesn't really, the flavor the flavor does not retain that long. So this, for miso soup, these middle brown miso, we call it, is good. And for cooking, shiro miso is pretty good. So when you soak the soybeans, okay, and this will be 12%. This is considered mild. If you go less salt, it's easier to get moldy, and it's easier for the flavor to change. So this is it's the perfect salt content in koji content. Okay, 12% salt. When I make other koji seasoning, 12% is the one that we usually aim for. Okay, here. Oh yeah, that's your before, and this is after. You see how it changed? Now this is very fast because Hawaii is warm. In my place, it didn't turn out this dark. So this was in August, and this is August 6th, I guess was it August 6th? Anyway, that after 5 months. Okay, some miso you cannot eat until like after a year, but usually about half a year. The earlier ones are like a couple months. So you get soybean koji. This koji is kind of in chunks because this is the one that I made, and it's fresh koji. The one that you buy in the stores are called dried koji. It's being dried commercially so that it doesn't really ferment. Okay? Koji likes water, needs some moisture to work. So even if you freeze it, it will stay like that for, okay, you can keep it in the freezer or you can keep it in the refrigerator. But it's good, especially Hawaii is warm, so if you buy one, and then it's really good to keep it in the refrigerator or freezer. But even you have it for like a year, and they says, oh yeah, it expires 5 months ago, it's still usable. I had koji that I forgot to use for 4 years. And I go, oh, okay, maybe I'll try making miso with it. It turned out, I mean, it's okay. It's just that it's less active. So you can use it even it's old, they're not going to go bad. Unless it's moldy. I mean, if you open it and you sprinkle some water or something, then it's going to start molding it. So make sure to keep it dry and airtight, then it will last. And then if you make miso, it's good to use this earthenware. We use bottles, but I made sure it's covered in a dark bag. Okay, so all you do is you cook, mash, mix. Yeah, it's easy. But our hands have what we call the normal bacteria flora. And this is really good, especially kids' hands. So let kids do the mashing, do the dirty stuff. They like it. And it's really good to use your hand. Don't use gloves, use your hand. Okay? It's not going to mold. Because if you make a miso ball and then you kind of throw it to your left to right, right to left, to get the extra air out. And then the fun part is, if you have a large enough jar, you go wham. By throwing it in, you get the air out. And so it's good to have a wide mouth, jar, like an earthenware jar. Yeah? And then we usually sprinkle with salt, because salt prevents mold. And then if the container is big, I don't know if you remember, maybe your parents or your parents did, and the miso pickles, you put weight on it, right? That you put weight so that whatever's inside the water comes up, and that prevents from extra mold. Okay. All you have to do is scrape that mold off. Okay? And then, but in the process of fermenting, after 2 months, let's say you open it, you saw mold. Don't take it off, because even you do, it's going to come back. So the point here is to prevent mold from growing more mold. So if there's a mold, keep it there, and it's not going to go, it's not going to go inside already. And just scrape it off after everything is done. You keep it off, next week you're going to get a mold again. So they're going to challenge you, so cover with mold, that's fine. And you're not going to get that much ugly leaky mold. Probably white mold, sometimes black, sometimes green, sometimes red. But
Yeah, you can.
they're usually edible. I mean, the mold is not edible, but miso is okay on the bottom. But this time we didn't have any mold. It was really nice. Oh yeah, put the apple on it, please.
We're going to put the
Yeah,
apples
yeah.
in here.
Yes. Now put the apple, because apples takes less time to cook. Okay. Usually Quinton, if you Google it, Quinton, it says, oh, put the syrup from the chestnut, put sugar, and maybe like 1 tablespoon of mirin for glaze. But today we're not putting any sugar, instead we put some apple, and then we'll cook down for I think at one point we have to dump the water a little bit, and then we'll add mirin, the one that mirin reduction for sweetness. Did you all try the mirin? Try it, okay? Why is miso brown? It's called Maillard reaction. Okay, this is a chemical reaction, and it's natural. Okay? And it's from an amino acid from soybean react with the sugar from the koji or any kind of sweetener. That's why when you what do you call caramelizing it, that's literally burning it, or even you cook meat, it burns, right? That color that comes up from burning is also Maillard reaction. Okay? It's the browning of the food. And then that adds complex flavor. In Shojin Ryori, we literally broil some vegetables because that gives different flavor. That's all about Japanese cooking. You don't always eat just by the spices you add, but this burning charbroil just gives different level of flavor, right? Okay. And then it needs heat in order to have this reaction. Okay, here, mirin. Okay, here we go. That's the ingredients for the mirin that we made a couple months ago. Vodka. Now, if you buy this vodka, it's about 1.7 liters, so I usually make mirin double batch, because I don't drink vodka. Okay? And then rice koji, 300 grams, or 1 1/4 cup. Now these you can be plus, you can put a little more if there's some leftovers. It doesn't really hurt. And then sweet rice. Now this is mochigome, mochi rice you call it. But I guess in general America you call it sweet rice. So yes, the mochigome needs to be soaked overnight and then cooked. And then all you do is mix them together. Let's see. First, you put mochigome overnight, you cook, and then you add vodka to it. Now this order is important. Okay, you cook rice, add this is going wrong. Add vodka, and then you add koji. Why is this order important?
It might destroy the koji.
Yeah, because yes, koji will die if it's too hot. So you pour the vodka into the hot rice. Of course, if if you cool the rice, it's okay, but that's time consuming. So if you just pour the koji on hot rice, it's just the temperature goes down, and then you put koji in it and mix it, and then you bottle it and store it. You get Mirin after 4 months. How simple is that? But to make it things easy, you don't really have to strain this. You can use from here. Okay, so look at mine. You see how clear it is? Because after that, I had strained it with these coffee filters. Reiko-san. Yeah, she helped me. She figured this out for me. So thank you very much. When it's bubbling, and then you take it down. So after 8 minutes, that's how it's gonna look. It's more like honey. 0 minute, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. But after 4 or 5 minutes, there's no alcohol content. That's when you can use it for cooking. But if you want to use it as a syrup to pour over something, you can cook it a little bit more. But 10 minutes, you have to be careful because it's going to have this different taste, kind of burnt kind of taste. So at least 4 or 5 minutes, okay? Okay, quinton. So this is how it looks in the real world. It's nice looking quintons. Has lots of sugar and okay. Today we're making with sweet potato, apple, and mirin. Now this is, I put half cup, but we did it more because you can adjust the sweetness, okay? This is just an example. So simmer 5 minutes or more, or less. Anyway, potato and apple is the important ingredients. Okay? Sweet potato paste, sweetened with apple and mirin. Here's your gardenia pods for coloring. This is so easy, cook and mash. Of course, if you're really into beautiful cooking, you want to strain it. Okay, benefits of mirin. Okay, adds mild sweetness. It tenderizes meat, of course, because this is koji product, right? And then it masks the fishy and gamey taste. That's why it's used in meat or fish. Absorbs flavor and adds luster and glaze. And here, this one, I did write this on your handout, but we're not making this, but you're going to be eating it. This is what I made because I just wanted to introduce that instead of the original recipe calls for miso, sake, mirin, sugar, and sesame oil. But today, because I didn't have sake, I put water. And instead of sugar, I used mirin. So you can do your own calculation. Mirin, 1.5 tablespoons of mirin equals 1 tablespoon sugar. If your recipe calls for mirin and you don't have it, this is what you can do. Okay? The other way around too. Okay. So today we cooked some vegetables and then we made miso dressing. Now this miso dressing is it's really good for like hard-boiled cooked vegetables. So this is the lunch sample lunch. This is what you're going to eat today. Okay, if you're ready to mash, make sure to kind of take the liquid out a little bit. Okay, you can always put the liquid back. Is it mashable? Let me see. Okay, potato. Yeah, you can add something.
Yeah, but then we will be adding that. So we can mash with this and finish, and we can get it with this mash.
Be a little bit on the smooth side, no? Yeah.
Up to you.
And then I have brought some spices. This is the sample. Wow. You know, you have to taste it all the time. Okay? Yeah. Taste it.
It's good.
If you like it more sweet, put more mirin in it.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Then we put the generous portion.
let's taste. You can now.
This is wet,
You should wet the paper towel.
then kind of, wow. roll it.
And it's not gonna stick to it.
So wet paper towel.
That's why. Gardenia.
Okay, and then I will bring you some things.
How's that? Is it big, small? How? You want?
These to decorate your little. Okay. Of course, this New Year's, and then this is nanten. This is also we use this a lot for good luck. Rub.
That's a money leaf. The kind you have this the church gets. Nanten.
Yeah, that's. I didn't know that was a money leaf. Yeah.
Make your plate.
For salad green.
Okay, so you
Nine,
should
nine,
see
nine.
the rice dish and vegetables and miso soup, miso cup on your table. And this rice is, in Japanese we call it maze gohan. So not takikomi. Takikomi means it's like Japanese pilaf. Maze gohan means you cook the vegetable first and then just mix it with cooked rice. And on top of it there's this walnut. Might not be enough for all of you, so if you find it, then you're lucky. Now this is glazed caramelized walnut, and I usually make it with maple syrup, but today I use mirin syrup. So I cook down the mirin to it's 7-8 minutes, like syrup, and then I pour it over the walnuts. And broccoli and carrots are parboiled, blanched. So there is the miso dressing on your table. So please pour over. In the rice there's shiitake, gobo, konnyaku, ninjin, hijiki. Okay, please decorate it. Presentation is very important. So this is the pumpkin spice if you want to put it over your quinoa. Pumpkin spice, cinnamon based, spice.
I'm going to put the miso 1 scoop. Okay, I'm going to put the. Yes, that would be fine. You can stir it and then taste it.
Let's clean the table and get ready to eat. はい、では手をお見せいただきます。どうぞ。
Very tasty. Yeah, yeah. So sweet. You cannot taste the liquor.
And there is actually fresh recipes, but not as many as Japanese.
No, it doesn't affect the.
So put this on your